everyone, and welcome to this brand new explainer. Today, we're tackling a topic that honestly feels like it's straight out of a sci-fi novel, but it is happening right now all over the internet. I want you to imagine for a second you're browsing online and you stumble across a website selling this tiny, futuristic-looking vial of powder. The label might say something super technical, right? Something like BPC 157 or TB 500, maybe CJC 1295. And the website confidently claims this miracle product is 99% pure, they've got laboratory reports linked, and they are promising some absolutely incredible health and recovery benefits. So you order it, it shows up at your door, you mix it with some liquid, and you literally inject it directly into your body. Okay, let's dive right into this, because here is the million-dollar question. How do you actually know that the vial contains what the label says it contains? The scary reality we're unpacking today is that a label isn't magic, and a shiny website claiming 99% purity, yeah, that isn't actual proof. In this rapidly exploding world of online peptides, an unapproved vial might just be one quick click away, which kind of forces us to ask a pretty disturbing question. What if the most dangerous thing about an unapproved peptide isn't what the peptide does, but what that powder actually is? Now, before we get too alarmed here, let's just ground the science for a second. The word peptide itself is not inherently suspicious or scary. At its most basic level, a peptide is simply a short chain of amino acids, and those are the fundamental building blocks of proteins. In fact, our own bodies naturally produce thousands of different peptides every single day. The most famous one? Insulin. It's a peptide, and it keeps millions of people alive. When you look at how these tiny structures work in the body, it is genuinely incredible. Peptides act like these highly specific biological messages just zipping around your body. They're like little couriers, telling your cells to produce certain substances, they influence your hormones, affect your appetite and metabolism, and they even regulate inflammation and tissue healing processes. Because they are so incredibly powerful, a lot of fully approved life-saving medicines used for diabetes and weight management are based directly on peptide biology. But here is where the problem starts. The scientific, super legitimate sounding word peptide has recently become this massive marketing umbrella. And if you peek under this very trendy umbrella, you are going to find vastly different things all huddled together. On one side, you've got rigorously tested, approved medicines. In the middle, you have active clinical trials. And on the far side, completely experimental products being sold to the public with a deeply, deeply disturbing catch. Section 1, the research use only loophole. And man, this just brilliantly illustrates the intense cognitive dissonance happening online right now. On one hand, you have the marketing message, right? Websites are practically shouting about rapid muscle recovery, effortless fat loss, anti-aging, miraculous injury healing, and amazing sleep. But then, look at the legal disclaimer at the very bottom of the page or in that tiny, tiny print on the vial. For research purposes only, not for human use. Do not use in humans. Regulators are actively challenging these companies because the marketing message and the legal disclaimer are telling two completely opposite stories. Research use only absolutely does not mean safe for humans or tested and approved. It just means it's legally marketed as something you really shouldn't be putting inside your body. Section 2, the illusion of purity. You're scrolling and you see it. 99% pure. It sounds incredibly reassuring, doesn't it? It feels scientific. It feels safe. But I need you to put your critical thinking caps on for just a second here and ask yourself a very simple but forceful question. 99% of what exactly? Even if a lab detected the peptides you wanted, a cute PDF on a website with some graphs and a flashy company logo doesn't answer the vital questions. I mean, is the dose exactly what the label claims? Is the product even sterile? Are there bacterial contaminants? What about leftover manufacturing impurities? Has it degraded while sitting in some hot warehouse? And, frankly, was the test even performed on the actual batch of vials you just bought? A piece of paper labeled Certificate of Analysis simply cannot answer all these critical unknowns. Now, what's really interesting about this is the massive, undeniable gap between a single online lab test and a real, regulated medicine. An online PDF basically says, hey, a laboratory found this compound in one single sample, once. That doesn't prove every vial on the shelf is the same, and it certainly does not mean it's safe for a human being. Regulatory approval, on the other hand, that guarantees consistent manufacturing, sterile environments, accurate dosing, and most importantly, proven safety and effectiveness in humans. These are wildly different standards, folks. Which brings us to Section 3, what could go wrong? Let's walk through this terrifying escalation of risks. Best case scenario, you get the wrong concentration of the correct peptide, but it goes downhill fast from there. It could be a degraded version of the substance.
it could be filled with leftover manufacturing impurities. Worse, it could be contaminated with microorganisms. Or, in the absolute worst-case scenario, it could be a completely different, entirely toxic compound. The World Health Organization actively warns us that falsified or substandard medical products often contain the wrong ingredients, unknown impurities, or dangerous contaminants.
And please, please remember this absolutely crucial fact. An injection bypasses your body's natural barriers. Your skin and your digestive system are literally these incredibly robust defense mechanisms designed to protect your bloodstream from the outside world. When you use a needle, you bypass all of that protection. That is exactly why sterility is absolutely paramount. A contaminated injection isn't just a mildly disappointing supplement, it is a severe, life-threatening medical emergency waiting to happen.
Section 4, the ultimate health paradox.
So many folks turning to these experimental peptides are incredibly health conscious. They're desperately trying to take control of their well-being, to recover faster, maybe heal some nagging injuries. They might spend hundreds of euros and weeks of their time meticulously researching the perfect peptide stack online, really believing they're being super sophisticated about it. But look at this massive portion of effort here. 99% is dedicated to the hypothetical science, while knowing maybe 1%, if anything at all, about the actual manufacturing facility, the sterility, the true dose, or the identity of the people making the vial. It's wild. They are taking the most reckless risks, all in the pursuit of absolute health. Now, actually, let me be super clear about something here. Peptides themselves are not inherently bad. Like we talked about earlier, some are legitimate, life-changing medicines, some are currently in fascinating clinical trials, and might literally be the breakthrough treatments of tomorrow. But we absolutely cannot treat a raw, experimental substance like a proven medicine simply because it arrives in a fancy, professional-looking glass bottle. Promising is simply not the same as proven. So, the absolutely crucial point we need to make is this final distinction right here. The stuff you buy online, it's backed by interesting preliminary research, maybe some animal studies, enthusiastic online testimonials, and highly impressive marketing. But an approved medicine is backed by rigorous clinical trials, verified evidence, and mathematical proof that the benefits genuinely outweigh the risks in real human patients. This distinction is vital for your safety because, quite frankly, the human body is not a laboratory bench. So how do we actually protect ourselves out there? Well, the next time you see an online ad for a futuristic peptide promising you younger skin, massive muscle growth, or some miraculous recovery, don't just ask if the peptide works in theory. Empower yourself with these vital questions. What is physically in this specific vial? Where exactly was it manufactured? Who verified the sterility? Is it legally approved for human use? Remember, a fancy website doesn't equal safety, and blind trust is for sure not a quality control system. I want to leave you with this final, chilling thought that I think perfectly summarizes everything we've looked at today. A peptide can be real, the science can be real, and the product in your hand can still be something else. Which leaves us with one final question to ask ourselves. Is the pursuit of ultimate health really worth playing a game of biological Russian roulette? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll see you in the next one.